Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a new edition of the EKN Debrief. It's episode number 89, Wednesday, January the 12th, 2022. My name's Rob Howden, joined by David Cole. As always, the event that we'll be reporting on today, the opening round of the 2022 Superkarts USA Winter Series, the event taking place at AMR Homestead Miami Motorplex, presented by MG Tires this past weekend. And this week's show is being presented by Parolin USA. It all started in 1994 when former kart driver Albino Parolin decided to move his passion from karting to the track, right to his small workshop. That's when Parolin was born. Parolin USA is North American source for Parolin products, and we run a factory race team at all the major Superkarts USA, USPKS, and Rock Cup USA events. The Parolin chassis lineup includes the Invader Shifter, the Le Mans Tag single-speed chassis for junior and senior drivers, the 28mm Opportunity model for cadet classes, and the Daytona 4-cycle chassis. Get on the chassis that's winning. Drive a Parolin. For more information, head to ParolinUSA.com. Well, David, before heading to Florida for the opening round of the Winter Series, we did our Outlap podcast. You and I were both pretty pumped. It was going to be 80 degrees and sunny the entire time. That didn't happen.
Yeah, that's the short answer to what was a long weekend regarding the weather. Rain disrupted all 3 days, made for a little bit of a chaotic Saturday with a torrential downpour coming down prior, overnight and in the early morning once racing was supposed to be, or warm-up was supposed to be getting underway. So, the AMR Homestead Miami Motorplex was a lake at one time, including the paddock. Yeah. And really was a lake all weekend long. And the paddock, with the way everybody sets up their tents and the flooring and everything like that, it was basically a mud pit in the pits throughout the weekend after that massive downpour that we had Saturday morning.
Well, the bottom line is this: Homestead Miami Motorplex in Homestead, Florida, essentially the gateway to the Keys. Right from Homestead, you head going down to Key Largo into the Keys, so it's the very southern tip there of Florida to a certain extent. Well, it's also about 2 miles from the ocean. The guys are telling us, so it's essentially sea level. Right. So there's not a lot of place for the water to go. The track actually has French drains, which means it doesn't actually have any kind of an area to pull water out into some kind of a holding device or a holding tank, whatever it may be. So the water's going to stand there. And that's essentially what happened. Torrential rain, as you had said, on Friday evening into Saturday, everything getting pushed back about an hour. But kudos to the entire team from AMR Homestead Miami Motorplex. Their whole crew got in there. SCUSA crews were in there getting the water off as much as possible. And eventually, only an hour late, I think we started warm up about 9:15 as opposed to 8 o'clock as it was supposed to. But the bottom line is, in the end, we were able to get the race underway. A lot of changing for the mechanics, obviously, back and forth. But David, all in all, a pretty good weekend. Again, this event happened on January 7th, 8th, and 9th this past weekend. The first 2 rounds of a 4-round championship, the Superkarts USA Winter Series. And David, 5th season for the championship. Again, pretty good numbers.
Yeah, I think when you just to wrap up the weather, I think, that was the hardest part, was the mechanics having to decide between every session what we were going to do. There were a number of sessions where the weather changed just as the field was going out on the racetrack. Really big kudos to not only the staff for getting everything done and completed on Saturday after, I think it was over an hour long break or delay. So to get all that done, and then for all the mechanics to just keep pushing and moving forward with all the changing conditions and just the difficulties that everything brought in. It was pretty outstanding.
Over the 5 years of this championship, the Superkarts USA Winter Series, it's been over 200 entries every year, even with some issues that they've had with lower entries on the East Coast and Florida in the shifter kart categories. 201 total last year in 2021, about 10% growth up to 220 is what I did when I kind of ran through the numbers here today. Again, David, we talked about this in the outlap and trackside. Really exciting to see the good numbers in the cadet categories. Micro Swift had 34, Mini ended up with 39. So you're talking, over 73 drivers in the cadet categories. That really bodes well for karting at this level, knowing that these kids, a couple years in Micro and Mini, then in Junior, then into Senior. There's going to be a good wave of numbers coming through the next couple of years.
Yeah, that's nearly half the total on the weekend alone,
Yeah.
just for the entire event. So that does certainly bode well for the future. Again, like we talked about in the outlap, and really it was great racing in both categories. A number of, especially in the mini Swift category, a number of different drivers kind of in the mix all weekend long. But just to see again, getting a lot of new blood into the sport, and that's always a positive, and that's always what we're looking for in karting is getting new people involved and at the track.
For those who listen to our outlap, we had, as always, there's always some trackside entries and some guys that enter but end up don't showing up or aren't feeling well, especially with COVID. I would expect a couple people probably potentially came down with COVID, coming into the event. We missed a couple people that weren't there, but still good numbers in the X30 classes, 35 in junior, 38 in senior, and actually about a 50% increase from last year's 8 in X30 Master. David, we actually had 12 drivers in the Masters class this weekend.
And that was, again, one of the more competitive categories where we saw a number of different drivers in the mix. And that's actually a championship now with Renato Yader-David gone that we'll see a fight go down to the wire possibly in that category.
Yeah, that's a bunch of good drivers in the X30 Masters class. In KA100 Junior, we had 21, 30 in KA100 Seniors. And listen, that those senior races were absolutely epic, as were the juniors.
Without a doubt. Again, that's the continuing theme that we have with the KA 100 divisions, producing a lot of great racing, making it available for a number of different drivers to be in the mix at the top of the order throughout the weekend. And yeah, the senior division, I think, was more of the wild categories of the weekend.
Indeed. In the shifter class, we talked about this in the outlap. Obviously, the Florida Winter Tour has not been a big. I mean, the Winter Series for SCUSA hasn't been a big draw for the SCUSA categories in the shifter car classes. Pretty much the same as last year. 6 drivers in the pro shifter class, 5 in master shifter. Now, hearing some scuttlebutt in the paddock that there may be more Masters drivers coming out for the event in February. Let's hope that is the case. Last year's champion Freddie Remrev wasn't there. There was a rumor he was actually going to show up, but decided not to. Again, Dave, we don't need to really dive too much into it, but the bottom line is, shifters are still strong around the country. We had 50 at the Super Nationals. We're expecting a really good field of shifters at the Winter Nationals to start off the Pro Tour for this year as well. But it just doesn't seem like there's the draw for people to come from around the country to get down there to the Winter Series. Now, let's be real. When there's 6 drivers, we talk about numbers breeding numbers. At 6 drivers, how do you get people to come down when they may be racing against 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 other guys, even if you got more people, right? So it's hard to build momentum when you only have single digits.
That's very true, Rob. But on the other side of it, it was a pretty competitive category in the pro shifter division. A number of different drivers in the mix throughout the weekend. Yeah. So at least we saw, it wasn't, the master shifter was a little bit different where we saw pretty much attrition deciding everything there. But the pro shifter category was certainly exciting each day and each session that they were on track. So that's the positive in that. Yeah, again, the negative is the amount of numbers that we do have. And again, that's just something that Superkarts USA is going to have to focus and look at moving forward.
Yeah, agreed. Bottom line is, as I said, 10% increase up to 220 entries. That's what we always say. Anything over 200, you've got a massive national event. So 220 drivers in total to kick off this year's SCUSA Winter Series. Folks, when we get back from this quick break, we'll jump into the paddock pass, talk about some of the stuff that happened in the paddock itself, just some overall notes on the event down in Florida. We don't just drive trucks because they're dependable workhorses that let us tackle icy roads all winter and tow a boat on the summer weekends. We also drive trucks because they're fun. And the Cooper Discoverer Rugged Trek is a truck tire made with fun in mind. Like any Cooper tire, the Rugged Trek is designed to do everything you need it to do. It's got stone blockades to protect your tires off-road and whisper grooves for smooth, quiet street driving. But with its in-your-face design, like the dual sidewalls that let you choose between 2 aggressive looks, the Cooper Discoverer Rugged Trek is also a tire that shows off your truck's wild side. It's the tire that's off-road party on the outside and dependable all-purpose Cooper design on the inside. Learn more at coopertire.com. Go with the Coopers. In karting, it's important to be supported by the right people. With over 40 years of experience in the sport, Trinity Karting Group has everything you need to make your program successful. We do it all, and we do it right. Trackside support and arrive and drive programs are available in 2021 for the USPKS and the Superkarts USA Pro Tour and Super Nationals, with full product sales and service and professional coaching from our experienced staff. Trinity Karting Group is a full-service operation based at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati, which gives us access to our custom-designed driver training facility. This allows us to offer private, one-on-one coaching to take you to the next level. Trinity Karting Group is also your Midwest home for Tony Kart and IAME, and we're your source for MG and Avinco tires in the region. Tony Kart quality cannot be beat, so call us today to put you in a new chassis for your next event. From arrive and drive and coaching programs to the parts you need, let Trinity Karting Group provide you with customer service and a racing experience second to none. Trinity Karting Group has a long history in the sport, a winning pedigree, and we're dedicated to driver development. We take pride in our professional approach and our positive attitude. Let us build a custom race program for you. Give us a call at 513-421-4463 or check us out online at trinitykartinggroup.com. Welcome back to a new edition of the EKN Debrief. Actually, episode number 89 is myself, Rob Howden, and David Cole doing a deep dive into the opening round of the Superkarts USA Winter Series, which took place this past weekend, January 7th to 9th at AMR Homestead Miami Motorplex, presented by MG Tires. Time to jump now into the Paddock Pass. We'll talk about some of the notes, some of the stuff that happened away from the actual on-track action. This edition of the Paddock Pass is presented by MG Tires. No matter your compound preference, MG Tires USA has you covered. MG Tires are the official spec tire in the United States Pro Kart Series, Route 66 Sprint Series, Sunshine State Karting Challenge, and countless clubs across the country. Whether it's the medium SH Red, the soft SM Yellow, the super soft green SS, or the intermediate white IZ, MG Tires USA has your winning set of rubber in stock. MG Tires for the drivers. All right, David, first and foremost, I think there's a bunch of stuff to hit on. Track updates, pushback bumpers. Let's start with the track updates itself because, we kind of went over what they did at the racetrack, making some changes to the curbing, to the exits of some of the corners. It played a role in turn number 12 quite a bit with the rain this weekend, but let's touch on the updates that they made to the racetrack.
Yeah, I think the major point of the updates was the curbing. They redid a number of the apex curbings around the racetrack, and that was a key element that not completely prevented, but made it to where drivers did not want to drive over the curbing at the apex. That's something that we saw in the previous events at the AMR Motorplex, where drivers utilized the curbs nearly every apex they went to, where these new curbing, you didn't want to hit them. You wanted to stay off of them. If you hit them, it was either you turned in too early, or you were trying to make a pass that didn't work, and you were trying to avoid hitting somebody. That was, I think, that was the major upgrade and update that played a factor, because again, it slowed the lap times down probably about maybe 0.2 of a second when you look at lap times compared to last year. So certainly made it more of a driver's track where you had to utilize the brake and the gas a little bit differently than just powering through an apex, jumping over the curb. So that was a major issue. And I don't know, watching the racing, I think that made things a little bit more difficult to pass.
One of the things, David, as well, was the some changes to some of the exits of the corners, where they actually put in some corners they had some grass on the exit, so you couldn't just run it over top of the exit rumble strips and onto the pavement and continue. Turn 12, it's always been that way. Final corner, everybody rolls through. You go on the other side of the curbing, right up against the barriers, and come out of that corner. Well, grass all on that area. They had some grass lined up on the exit of turn number 1 as well, but it got ripped up pretty quickly. They ended up putting in kind of a dipping curb, like the rumble strips with pretty significant rumbles to make it tougher to go through there. A lot of drivers kind of backed off from there. But David, let's go to turn 12, because drivers coming through that corner saw that it was there, Well, the first time they actually went hard at it racing wise, it was a qualifying on Saturday morning. Everybody had so much trouble getting that car through. We had so many guys going over the rumbles into the grass, and man, spins because it was all wet. Eventually, being kind of a big mud slick. It did its job, but it was a messy one for sure.
Yeah, I think that was more Sunday morning, if I recall correctly. I'm trying to remember how everything unfolded, but
I was pretty sure we had some guys go off on Saturday with
we
all the
did
rain
too.
on Saturday.
But
right?
I think
a
the
lot
majority,
on Sunday, yeah.
I think the majority of it, because the track was nearly dry, but it was just that one section at turn 12 that was really slick, and then when they came through, it really pushed them off into the exit curbing and then into the grass. And part of the issues, I think, too, is the grass is actually, it seemed to be situated above the curbing. So it wasn't like there was a drop down when you went off the curbing. So you kind of went up and then into the wall and into the grass. And again, it's Florida, like you were talking about. The water has nowhere to go. It just kind of sits there until the sun can dry it out. And unfortunately, the sun didn't really come out during the early portion of Sunday morning. So it was real overcast.
It did rain overnight. We didn't tell everybody that. It did rain overnight as well. So when we got to the track, the track was totally wet when we got there.
Correct.
On Sunday, yeah.
Yeah, so it was a drying track, so drivers were on dry tires trying to get through this one section that was a little bit damp, and it just created a little bit of chaos for the opening three corners. Once somebody came through the wall and really hit it hard, and they had to repair the wall and then try and disperse some of the water that came out of the barriers as well too. They had a little bit of a track delay for that, but other than that, I think it was good. Looking at, obviously you weren't able to walk the racetrack, but I was able to during the photos to collect photos, and the other grass sections that were installed are holding up pretty well.
Oh, good.
I mean, they're typical, you get the line coming through because drivers are dropping a wheel. So you get a little bit of the burn off of the grass, but nothing like the mud pile we saw in turn 12 and actually turn 1 in the counterclockwise direction was going to be grass until the club racing that they had just destroyed the grass. It was a complete mud pile, very similar to what we saw in turn 12, but a lot bigger and a lot messier. So they just completely made it curbing rather than keeping grass there. So that was really, when you talk track limits, that was really the only section that we saw where drivers were exceeding the track limits. But again, they weren't calling it because it's all curbing. I mean, there's no way around it. There's no smooth path through it. It's just all curbing. So it's very similar to like the left-hand exit at GoPro Motorplex, where it's just all bump, 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 and a pain in the ass as a driver. But sometimes, that's the fast line, and that's what you got to take.
Yeah,
so
there's the risk reward there for sure.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see what happens when we go in the other direction. If that is utilized on, coming through to the last corner, and then how the different grass sections hold up for that event as well. If it stays dry, I think it's going to be great. I don't think you're going to have any issues, but if we do have the waterworks that we did have this past weekend, it could be a little bit of chaotic and could be, again, another mud show in certain corners.
Yeah, we'll see what happens when we get back down for rounds 3 and 4 at Homestead in February. One of the big pieces of news over the offseason, kind of through the Christmas time, David, was the fact that SCUSA electing to go with no pushback bumpers. They've invested pretty heavily in their video marshaling system, and they have a big staff that's at all these races. So Tom Kutcher and the crew saying, hey, you know what? I know that a lot of people have bitched about the pushback. The penalties that have come, race winners losing the race because of a pushback. They elect to go to no pushback bumpers. What are your thoughts all in all? Let me start with this. To me, it looked like Saturday things were real good. I was really impressed with the starts and everything on Saturday, even without pushbacks. Felt a little bit like we kind of got back to the old school racing. We had way more wrecks of drivers trying to overcook and kind of throw it into turn number 1 at the starts.
Well, I think you always get that on Sundays, no matter what. Having no pushback bumper certainly helps take away the possibility of penalties coming to you, depending on how aggressively you are in turn 1. But that's something they were watching. I mean, I was in the booth with them as I would go out to take photos. I would see them reviewing every turn 1, turn 2 at the start for all the different categories and seeing, okay, is this guy being overly aggressive? Is he causing the incident? And so they're certainly watching every start very closely and intently with the cameras, and again the officials that they have on track as well too. So I guess on social media there's people bitching about having the no pushback because maybe they were involved in a wreck or got taken out. But I think on the flip side, if you were out front and kept your nose clean, there was certainly no issues. For me personally, I think it was a good weekend overall without having the pushback bumpers. As you said, yeah, there were some incidents on Sunday, but overall, I think that's just kind of how racing is. When it's the last day, you kind of let things go, and some drivers kind of push it a little bit too hard on that final day. But overall, I think, again, personally for me, and I wrote this in the column to wrap up 2021, I'd like to see it just in the senior and master divisions. And I think we saw, the pushback bumper or no pushback bumper being, kind of helping some of the senior drivers, doing a little bit of bump and runs, or again, a driver is blocking. You put your nose into the back of their cart and you get them out of the way if they're going to defend.
Yep.
So we saw a little bit of that. So it's good because now we don't have. It takes away the drivers from driving afraid and trying not to get a penalty because of they don't want to get that bumper pushed in. So
yeah, I agree with that. And here's my one thing, and we really haven't brought this up yet. With SCUSA making the move to have no pushback bumpers, putting the onus then, of course, on the race directing team with their video marshaling system, that's going to take a bit of time. We can't just say, "Oh, no pushback bumpers," right? But it was really bad the first weekend. Well, remember, the penalties have to come down from SCUSA's race direction for people to know, hey, I can't do this. I can't drive like that. The pushback bumper is an immediate penalty. You do it, you come in the track, I got to push back. Whether you did it or not, right? It's immediate. It's going to take a little while for the drivers to realize, if I do this, I'm going to get penalized, right? And SCUSA has to do the penalizing, but the drivers have to, once this starts getting into a rhythm where people, hey, I just got DQ'd from a race because I punted a guy. I can't do that anymore. They've got to be taught. They've got to learn.
And again, that's why I thought doing senior and master would be better, because some of these juniors and some of these cadet drivers have not driven without a pushback bumper. They're not used to it. They got to relearn or they got to be taught how to drive without a pushback bumper, which is a little bit different because you can put your nose into somebody a little bit and not strike a penalty, but yet still have some good racing. And so again, that, like you said, it's only the first event. You can't judge everything on just the first event. We got to see how it unfolds throughout the year. And again, the SCUSA officials still need to be on top of everything. So again, they have to, it's almost a learning curve for them as well too.
Yeah, we got to give them enough time for their penalties that they lay down to change the feeling of how you race. That's all it's going to take, right? Speaking of racing, how weird was it to be at a Superkarts USA, any national race, and not have Ryan Norberg on the racetrack?
It was certainly weird. No Ryan Norberg, no Brandon Jarzakrak. There was no Aries Dumejian, a number of different drivers that we have, within the top 10. No Brandon Tyner, a number of different drivers that were not competing in the top level, the X30 senior division. So it was certainly different and unique. And we talked to I talked to Ryan Friday while we were trackside. It was he wasn't missing it. And then I talked to him Sunday. He said, "Yeah, I'm glad I didn't race." Again, he got to see everything from this side of the fence a little bit more. Got to work directly with each of the drivers under the tent and kind of help still build that that team cohesiveness. While not being a driver as a driver coach. So, and Jarzakrak's kind of doing the same thing with Mike Doty Racing as well too. So again, we're starting to see a number of these drivers moving into that coaching role, and it's opening up the doors for some of the other drivers to kind of be the standout drivers. So that's something I think we're going to see throughout the year. Obviously, Norberg's coming back. He's going to do the Pro Tour and USPKS. So we'll still see him. Charge the Crack, I believe, will be running a limited schedule as well too. So it's going to be it was certainly different to see Norberg on the sideline, but again, it's new drivers coming into the senior ranks, and so it's going to be a whole group of new drivers, I think, up at the front of the field along with some of the old ones.
Hey, let's cap off this edition of the Paddock Pass, which is brought to you by MG Tires, by talking about something that kind of caught our eye, David. It started catching our eye on social media, and then we finally see a trackside, and that's Odenthal Racing Products with their new GoPro camera mount that they brought out. We saw they made its track debut this weekend.
It did. It was running with Jeremy Fletcher in the KA100 senior division. I'm not sure if he had it on for the X30 senior cart as well too, but I did see it on the KA100 cart. Odenthal Racing Products coming out with this new mount, certainly unique, and provides a number of different adjustments to no matter where you're mounting it on the chassis. Because again, some of the rules now is you have to mount the camera to the chassis, and no longer the radiator or the front fairing. So it's certainly a very unique mount. We've seen a lot of people build their own, and I think this one is certainly going to take the market by storm. A number of different people are already submitting their credit cards for purchasing this item. So again, it should be out in the next month, but it's on social media. It's on Odenthal Racing Products social media pages. We've shared it a number of times, took a picture of it this past weekend in our Paddock Insider as well too. So again, unique and has the ability to hold two cameras. I think that's the unique aspect of it. You could have a camera facing forward along with a camera facing to the rear of the cart as well too. So number of different adjustabilities to the mount, so you could have it as low as you want, you could have it as high as you want, different angles, just very unique.
That's cool.
And going to be probably one of the more popular products sold in 2022.
Yeah, very well thought out design. So have a look for that from Odenthal Racing Products. All right, time to go for another quick break. When we get back, we'll dive into the race reports. We'll start chatting about who was good and who was able to find victory at the opening round of the Superkarts USA Winter Series. There's a new hot button name in American safety equipment: Stilo USA. Every product with Stilo is focused on safety, comfort, and function. Stilo USA is happy to provide you with the proper safety apparel to keep you protected on the track, and their karting lineup is second to none. The ST5 KRT karting helmet is available for $599. Manufactured using a lightweight and extremely strong composite material, the KRT provides an excellent fit and comfort level due to its dual density interior foam lining, and it's equipped with a symmetrical visor that offers excellent vision and an effortless central visor locking system. The ST5 CMR standard was developed jointly by the FIA Institute and Snell Memorial Foundation to ensure safer and lighter weight helmets for the younger karters. Drivers rave about the superior comfort levels, lightweight construction, and the unparalleled field of vision. The perfect youth helmet is available for $549. Stilo didn't stop with their helmets either. The newly developed Carbon Curva Rib Protector is unlike any on the market, with its form-fitting solution to offer superior protection. Head to StiloHelmets.com to review these and many more products to keep you safe on the track. Stilo. Any competition, one helmet. Feel like you're racing alongside the many legends that have called CRG home. With direct factory support, the CRG Nordam operation is the North American distributor for all CRG products related to karting and is based just outside Houston, Texas. The complete racing chassis line, including the famous Road Rebel shifter cart, is available through CRG Nordam. The growing FS4 Briggs & Stratton focused chassis is expanding worldwide, including right here in North America. Many tracks, indoor and outdoor, have made the switch to the Centurion rental cart line through CRG. New for the 2020 season is the Mini Hero for cadet racing, homologated for FIA competitions around the world. Head over to kartcrg.com or find them on all social media networks. Welcome back to the EKN Radio Network, the new EKN Debrief, as we take a deep dive into the Superkarts USA Winter Series opener, which was held on January 7th to 9th. Rob Howden alongside David Cole. Time to jump into the race report, which is brought to you today by Leading Edge Motorsports. Leading Edge Motorsports is the industry answer to winning in karting. At the helm is industry veteran Greg Bell, who has orchestrated the success of countless drivers dating back to the mid-1990s. Leading Edge Motorsports is the West Coast importer and factory team for IP Karting, which manufactures the ultra-competitive Praga and Formula K chassis brands. In 2022, Leading Edge Motorsports will be trackside at the Superkarts USA Pro Tour, Florida Winter Tour, United States Pro Kart Series, Stars Championship, California Pro Kart Challenge, and high-profile Rock Cup events. Contact us today to book a spot under the tent. Visit leadingedgemotorsports.com for more info or find them on Facebook and Instagram. At Leading Edge Motorsports, winning never gets old. All right, David, let's jump into our first category as we work our way through the classes. X30 Pro and the headline, Villa and Detulio earn series first victories.
Yeah, when I said we saw a number of different new names at the front, this certainly was the case in X30 Pro on Saturday. And a familiar name, but a name we haven't seen in the States for a while. Mateus Morgado actually set the fast time in qualifying, working again with AM Engines, Ariel Castro on the Esprit, able to set fast time. But a driver we haven't seen in SCUSA competition for over a year following his suspension after last year's opening round at the SCUSA Winter Series, Alessandro Detulio. He was able to score the win in the pre-final. Ended up being him and Eduardo Villa up front in the TB kart. Those two drivers were able to break away from the pack after some early shuffling. Villa led the majority of the laps until about 3 laps to go when Detulio took over the top spot. And then from there, took the provisional checkered flag as the winner. Unfortunately, Alessandro was unable to leave tech without a disqualification, which ended up moving the victory to Villa, the Italian, on the TB kart, scoring a big victory for them on the opening round.
Yeah, Morgado ended up coming home in second. Hannah Greenmeyer battled within the top 10 throughout the race and fought her way up to third in the final order. Obviously fourth on track, but third in the final order. Tyler McIntyre on the Burrell Art and Jeremy Fletcher in his Superkarts USA senior category debut coming home fifth. Fletcher, David, actually with the hard charge as well, had an issue in the pre-final, went out early, started all the way back in 39th, and we kind of followed him through the battle all the way up to P5, 34 spot improvement for Jeremy Fletcher.
Yeah, I got to post the fast lap of the race was actually 2/10 quicker than the leaders, running a 47.794 lap time. So amazing speed in the main event for Fletcher to be able to grab his first top 5.
Let's go to Sunday. Out of the gate, Thomas Navu for Trinity Karting Group on the Kart Republic qualified on pole. He was pretty strong throughout the entire weekend. Moving into the pre-final, David Detulio was there again, though, and it was very apparent that based on what happened yesterday, he was ready to fight back and try to go for a win on Sunday.
Yeah, it was about redemption on Sunday for Alessandro. It really looked that way. The Canadian, however, though, showed speed early on. He was able to lead early in the main event until Alessandro took over the point, and then on lap 9, and then from there showed the way the entire distance of the 22-lap main event, and was able to score victory by 2.6 seconds. Mateus Morgado was able to get ahead of Nevo in to take over the second spot in the closing laps. Diego Ramos finishing in the 4th position with Hannah Greenmeyer up into the 5th spot.
Yeah, Superkarts USA has not yet, I don't think, updated the points, but with a couple of second-place finishes, Morgado will be the point leader heading into the finale. Hannah Greenmeyer with a couple of top 5s. I expect she'll probably be potentially second in points as well, David.
Yeah, that's setting up for those two drivers to probably be the top championship contenders. I would think Thomas Naveau might be there as well too. So again, a good weekend by him at the finale could kind of help him out there as well. So it should be a number of different drivers in the championship contention when we head to AMR Motorplex in February.
Hard charger was John Burke on the Tony Kart, 27 spot improvement. Started deep in the field, 36th, and was able to work his way up to 9th.
Yeah, DNF in the pre-final for him as well. So again, drivers getting that DNF in the pre-final, they're able to pull off the hard charger award with Fletcher on Saturday and John Burke on Sunday.
One thing we will mention about the main events, when you hear about a hard charger in the main event on Saturday, the race actually wasn't full distance either, because we got pushed an hour later, a little over an hour late getting started. Superkarts USA cutting a couple laps off the pre-finals and a couple laps off the main to make sure that they were able to get the racing done before sunset. So considering the fact that Jeremy Fletcher came up 34 spots on Saturday to fifth was pretty amazing, because he could have had a couple extra laps to work with. Let's go to KA100 Senior. And here is your headline. Morgan doubles up in senior debut. What a weekend for Carson Morgan.
It ended well for him both days, certainly. Didn't begin as the top driver to beat. On Saturday, it was actually the Merlin Nation driver, Nick Terlecki, who was able to set fast time in qualifying and come out with a pre-final win. So Terlecki led the field to the green flag. It was a wild fight up front, including Terlecki, both Carson and Cole Morgan, Connor Ferris, along with Peyton Phillips. A little bit of contact between Cole Morgan and Jeremy Fletcher in turn 4 ended up carrying into the hairpin in turn 5. Their fight and contact also collected Connor Ferris and Peyton Phillips. That kind of shuffled up the running order after that fiasco, and allowed actually Carson Morgan to kind of get away from everybody, as he was able to pull away and earn his first senior victory in the KA100 senior division, driving to a 1.7 margin of victory, with Nick Terlecki able to hold off Aiden Rudolph, another senior rookie, for the runner-up spot.
Yeah, Tyler Wettengale and Aiden Levy wrapping up the top 5 on that one. But David, it was interesting that the contact, kind of the Morgan Fletcher deal, actually kind of poured over a little bit into the scales, as well as I think Morgan approaching. Was it Fletcher who went to talk to? I didn't see exactly, but I know that Morgan did get removed from the remainder of the event. Wasn't able to run on Sunday for physical attack towards a competitor, is what Scusa had written on Race Hero.
Yeah, make sure you quote that. Quote, physical attack towards a competitor.
Yeah.
I didn't see any physical attack. I know he approached him when officials told him not to. I'm not sure if he grabbed him, or because, again, it was on the scale line, and Cole Morgan was already off the racetrack and waited for him, obviously, at the scale line. And so I wasn't quite able to see exactly what happened, but he did approach him. Officials kept telling him to go back and to stay away. He didn't. They had some words. I'm not exactly sure what was said, but he was removed for the remainder of the event for that act.
There you go. Hard charger on Saturday in KA100 Senior was Colin Lloyd in the Tony Kart, 18 spots up. Started 25th, drove his way up to 7th.
Yeah, again, as you said, only 20 laps for the main event, so nearly one position every lap for him.
Let's move to Sunday, and it was Connor Ferris coming back from getting taken out in that event, that main event kind of melee there. He ended up qualifying on the pole position, but Carson Morgan stepping it back up, won that pre-final, David.
He did. Again, qualifying, that was one of those sessions where we saw a number of drivers going off in turn 12 and into the mud. Terlecki was one of them, a number of other drivers as well, too. So Ferris was able to keep it clean and dry and not muddy, and able to score the fast time. Not quite sure where Morgan situated himself in that session, but certainly came out as the driver to beat in the pre-final. And then, it was a wild day for them, because I believe just before they were about to go on racetrack, it started raining for the K100 Junior division. So everybody swapped over to rain tires for the main event. Carson Morgan was able to essentially go wire to wire on a wet racetrack, with Jeremy Fletcher trailing him the entire distance.
Yeah, Fletcher ended up finishing second. Aiden Rudolph, David, back for another top 3. He actually drove to the top 3 as well, because I believe made a pass, I think, on the final lap to grab third, because he was one of the fastest drivers over the last handful of laps.
Yeah, he had a bit of some water issues with the engine and carburation troubles, so he was trying to get that figured out, along with an airbox moving on him and covering up the holes. So, or the rain cover covering up the holes on the airbox. So he had a number of issues, and was able to power through them. And as you said, he was able to get by Aiden Levy on the final lap to score that third position. Levy actually ended up crossing the line in fourth, but was disqualified for being too narrow, I believe, in the rear width. So he was removed from the results. That advanced Peyton Phillips, who rebounded from that Saturday contact to end up fourth, with Calvin Wetzel with Mike Doty Racing in the fifth position.
Yeah, David Wetzel, actually the hard charger, started 26th to get up to fifth. That's what you like to see in a wet weather race.
Yeah, 21 spots, so nearly one position every lap. And again, that's the craziness of wet weather racing. Some drivers are able to just grasp that those type of conditions and take advantage of it. And certainly Wetzel did there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, into our another break here in this edition of the Debrief. When we come back, we'll hit on X30 Junior, KA100 Junior as well. Stay with us. More to come here on the EKN Radio Network.
Located in Mooresville, North Carolina, on-site at GoPro Motorplex, Kart Sport North America features over 6,000 square feet of retail space. Along with being the official race team and distributor for the Kart Republic chassis, they offer full retail sales, kart service and storage, and products from the top brands in the sport, such as CZ Chain, Talon Sprockets, SKF bearings, and Prisma tire gauges. If you want to take your racing to the next level, they also offer driver training and coaching programs available trackside at GoPro Motorplex. They have a massive inventory, so head to their online store at kartsportna.com to get same-day shipping of the parts and components that you need. While you're there, check out their used section of karts, engines, parts, and accessories. Kart Sport North America. Top quality products, winning brands, and professional driver development services.
The Briggs & Stratton 206 engine is where out-of-the-box ease and outstanding consistency meet to create legendary races. Briggs & Stratton's history of motorsports dates back to when the first engines came off the assembly line in the early 1900s. Their focus on the grassroots level continues to help build generations of racers. Since 2008, the Briggs & Stratton 206 has gained a following that has the engine powering the largest fields in North American karting today. From the club level track programs to traveling regional series and national events, Briggs & Stratton competition provides the most exciting racing in the sport. Engineered and hand-built exclusively for racing, every Briggs & Stratton 206 engine is power tested and serialized before it goes in the box. Karters can take that engine straight from the box to their kart and be on the podium at the end of race day. Be sure to follow Briggs & Stratton Racing on Facebook and through @RaceBriggs on Instagram. To learn more about the 206 engine or to find the North American dealer near you, head to BriggsRacing.com. Briggs & Stratton Racing, what powers you? Welcome back to episode 89 of our EKN Debrief, closing in on that Magic 100, which will likely hit by the end of the season. We are in our race report segment talking about the Superkarts USA Winter Series. Leading Edge Motorsports, a sponsor of our race report today. X30 Junior from Florida. Here is the headline. Weldon and Miller score first victories.
This category, again, was one of them that we were watching. We were wondering who was going to be able to step up and show themselves as one of the top leaders for the 2022 season. Well, we saw a number of different drivers up front all weekend long, including qualifying. Michael Costello set fast time in the slow group, and was able to hold through the fast group to earn the pole position for the pre-final. In the pre-final, though, it was Homestead regular Max Garcia, who is the Pro Tour runner-up, I believe, from last year in this category. He was able to drive away to a solid win in the pre-final. In the main event, however, Garcia had a sizable lead for majority of the race. That was until Aiden Ingrata, the Canadian, was able to run him down in the closing laps. And everything kind of came to a last lap battle with Ingrata able to get by Garcia within the final few corners. And as they came down to the last corner, Ingrata was in the defensive mode. Garcia went aggressive, and the two both pushed off wide at the final corner. This allowed Sebastian Weldon to drive clean and clear past both of them as they were both taking a mud bath in what was that wet grass section on the outside of turn 12, with Weldon able to cross the line first to score his first series victory.
Well, obviously, with coming down the straightaway into the final corner, Ingrata's running that defensive line. Garcia's right there. He's trying to dive to the inside. Even as defensive as Ingrata was, Garcia was going to go to the inside. A little contact there. Good for Sebastian Weldon, because I think he saw it kind of happen. He did a big wide berth way to the right side of the racetrack and was setting up for the over-under, and it paid off for him because the contact between Ingrata and Garcia, like you said, put them both on the other side of the rumbles into the grass, kind of hanging out there on the cushion kind of a thing, and they were able to come back on the racetrack. But for the incident, Garcia actually getting a 5-second penalty for the contact, David.
Yeah, it was a 5-second penalty for contact for Garcia. Unfortunately, Ingrata put a little bit into his own hands on the pace lap, or the cool down lap, as he was removed from the results following contact after the checkered flag on track. So okay. Ingrata actually crossed the line in third behind Garcia, who crossed the line in second. But obviously, those two penalties kind of shuffled up the order. This allowed Mateus Orjuela, making his X30 Junior debut at the SCUSA Winter Series, to stand on the second step of the podium. Garcia was then dropped down to the third spot. That moves Stephen Miller up to fourth, with Caleb Guerrera in the fifth position.
Yeah, hard charger for the X30 Junior category, coming from 34th up to 15th, a 19-spot improvement for Brandon Carr on the Cosmic. Good run for Brandon, coming from deep in the field. Not surprising that he'd be able to get up there as a pretty quick driver. And in fact, he came back, David, after the hard charger on Saturday and put it on the pole on Sunday morning. But it was a weird session for X30 Junior.
It was. Again, they're doing the split sessions for a number of the categories. X30 Junior was one of them. The slow group was actually out on racetrack, and it was dry, and they were able to lay down some good laps. The fast group was sitting on pit lane when it started to rain, and unfortunately, they were, they got to go to do their session. Unfortunately, it was a wet racetrack. So again, they had to do the, I guess they call it the 101 rule. I'm not quite sure exactly the rule that they utilize, where they'll take the slow group, or whichever group was quickest, they'll put them on the pole side of the pre-final, and the slowest group on the outside for the pre-final. And that's essentially how they lined everybody up for the pre-final. So Carr was able to earn the pole position from from the slow group, based on his fast time in that session.
Yeah, in the pre-final, Aiden Ingrata able to move to the front to get the win there, starting the pole position. But the main event was pretty interesting. David Ingrata got out to a solid lead, but he literally got ran down by Stephen Miller.
Yeah, very similar to what we saw on Saturday. This time, Ingrata was the driver that was out front, leading pretty comfortably until Stephen Miller had almost like, it seemed like he had boosters on and was just running through the field and slowly, was able to run down Ingrata. By lap 13 or lap 19, it was Miller to the lead, and then from there he was able to pull away to score his first victory of the series.
Yeah, pretty impressive run for Stephen Miller. It was a good day all total for Stephen Miller. We'll talk about that in a second. Let's go to KA100 Junior, and here's the headline. Guerrera and Miller split wins in KA100 Junior.
Yeah, opening day was pretty good for Caleb Guerrera in the KA100 Junior division, making his first start in the category at this level. He's done some club racing in the KA100 Junior division, but never at the Superkarts USA program. So set fast time in the qualifying session, but Austin Jervis, the SCUSA Pro Tour number 3 from last year, ended up sneaking by him in a photo finish for the pre-final win. Guerrera stepped it up, though, in the main event, as he was able to grab the lead on lap 6 and drive away to a 2.8 second victory for his first victory of the 2022 season.
Yeah, that was just one of those deals where you got a really good cart, you're doing the job, and you're out front, and you just put the laps down. Gaffera was unbelievably consistent with his lap times, stretched away to almost 3 seconds, like you said, over Jers. Valentino Garbarino coming home in third spot. Stephen Miller was finished in fourth. Again, his weekend would get even better. Miller finishes fourth, and Max Taylor rounding out the top five. Miller actually, David, with the hard charger as well in that race, had an issue in the pre-final. I don't know that he even started the pre-final. I think he started at the tail of the field in 21st and was able to fight up to fourth. 17 spots.
It was a DNS for the pre-final. Not exactly sure what happened. Again, that we weren't really following Miller on Saturday as to issues that he had. He was, again, one of the top contenders in both categories. Again, scoring a fourth place finish in the X30 junior division, and then again driving up to fourth place in KA100 junior on Saturday. So interesting to an interesting weekend for him as well, and it got even better, as you said.
Yeah, KA100 Junior was I think the second class in the order behind Micro Swift. So on both Saturday and Sunday, they had the damp track, the wet track for qualifying. Caleb Gaffera did the same thing. He was the first guy to bolt out, fastest driver on Friday happy hour. So he was able to bolt out, and he actually got an extra lap, pushing hard over the 5-minute limit. He was able to get through and get an extra lap. Same thing happened on Sunday where Max Schweib was able to get out and push hard. Everybody else kind of was rolling around. He got that one extra lap, David. Max Schweid, I think he might have been one of the last guys across the line to be able to steal the pole position away. Right?
Yeah, if I recall the session, he was. I think Gaffera was one of them. Yep. Jers was right there, and I want to say there was one other driver that was in contention. And then all of a sudden, Max Schweid jumped up right to the top, right as the checker flag waved. So it was a good session for him. He was quick on Friday as well too. He again, the local drivers were certainly quick all weekend long. Miller being one of them as well too.
Now, here's the interesting thing. This is, again, you talked about the weather being crazy. Caleb Gaffera ends up winning the pre-final. He starts on the pole. Well, again, the rain starts coming right at the very start of this race, if I'm not mistaken. And so all the drivers had rolled out on dry tires. So the entire race on slicks with a wet, raining racetrack. Man, it was fun to watch the drivers kind of figure out what they needed to do, right? Where do I need to be? You could just see everybody trying to get a feel for it. I thought the junior drivers did a great job. Didn't have a lot of guys spinning off, making mistakes. They were all just trying to find out where the grip could be on the racetrack.
No, they did an excellent job for the conditions. Again, it wasn't a torrential downpour. It was just, a little quick rain shower that kind of got the track damp. And it actually, the sun, I believe, started to come out as they were getting the checkered flag. So, again, it was just a quick little shower that made the track wet. But as you said, the drivers certainly did a great job. Again, trying to find the grip, keeping off, staying off the walls and not spinning around and causing a chaotic scene. So it was all in all a great main event.
In the end, Miller was able to. This is how it started his day. Obviously, the KA Junior was before the X30 Senior, so he'd already won. He ends up being the victor here as he ran down the leaders and took the lead on lap number 8. So Miller wins in X30 KA100 Junior, and then later on in the day in the third to last race is when he backed it up with X30 Senior or X30 Junior. That win, Miller just had a fantastic Sunday. He ends up winning, but not by much. It was a good battle at the end. Luke Welcome, who was a winner last year in the Winter Series, David was right in the fight there as well. Austin Jers ended up finishing third. Caleb Gaffera in fourth as he faded a bit in the late going, and Garbarino another top 5 for him. 2 top 5s for Valentino Garbarino on the weekend.
Yeah, I talked to Miller after he actually ran from the scales back to the pits, and I was wondering what was going on, and Chad Dock and his mechanic said, well, he's not feeling really well. So I got back to his pit after, he got situated, and I guess he had to go to the bathroom really bad. and he said those last closing laps were like torture. That he was basically hanging on. And I think that kind of, if Luke Welcome wasn't there, it would have been a lot easier. But Luke kept the pressure on it. Certainly didn't help Miller's bladder at all.
Well, and it was a longer race too. He had to go to the washroom. Remember, with the lap times being so significantly slower because of the wet, it was a lot long. It was literally almost a half an hour race because the lap times were so slow.
Yeah, it was. I was just about to pull it up. Yeah, they were running minute 4 lap times. So you have 22 laps at a minute 4. Yeah, that's basically a half hour that you're in the seat.
Yeah, with the warm-up lap and cool down lap, right? So it was like literally it was a long race. But I'm glad he was able to take care of himself. But yeah, great run again for Stephen Miller on the weekend, all total. Hard Charger and KA100 Junior on Sunday. Ethan Goulart on the Cosmic up 9 spots, started in 18th, ended up with a top 10 finish in P9.
Rob, if you're leading the race and you got to go to the bathroom, are you just going to let it go?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
It depends on the race, though, right? And if you got to race another race after, or if you got a suit or something to change in, right?
Probably not. I think I just let it roll. All right, folks, don't go anywhere.
That might be a good poll question for later today.
I like that idea. All right, folks, don't go anywhere. More to come here. When we get back, we'll do X30 Master, Pro Shifter, and Master Shifter. ...2019 marked a new era for the Cartlift brand. The company that Tim Coyne owned and operated since 2003, one with a long tradition of quality products for the karting industry, was purchased by Ted Fashing and his business, Stockholm Karting Center, in October of 2019. Stockholm Karting Center Inc. has added the Cartlift brand to their very successful Triple T Race Products brand that has been fabricating parts for the drag racing industry for the past 25 years. We're small enough where the owner answers the phone and every call is important to us, but we're large enough to get the job done. We pride ourselves on the quality and personal customer service that we provide on the phone or at the track. Cartlift stands, as you know, can be found at racetracks all over the country. If you race alone, or if you're a parent with a cadet or junior driver, let our one-man winch lift make your race days easier. Position the hooks under the rear bumper, push the button, and your cart is raised into position and you're ready to go. We have traditional cart stands, single upright storage stands, cart lift stackers for storing 2 carts at once, tire changers, and skid plate kits. Cart lift stands are available at the finest kart shops around the country, or you can order online at cartlift.com. For more information, give us a call at 877-777-8020. That's 877-777-8020. Get a cart lift and leave your crew at home. Acceleration Kart Racing is your first and only stop on the internet for karts, parts, and the safety gear you need to get you on the track. Visit shopakr.com for a great selection of karting equipment on a user-friendly website. Acceleration Kart Racing has aligned itself with many of the top manufacturers and distributors in the sport to ensure all the latest equipment is available to you, the racer. With over 20 years in business and customer support available 6 days a week, you can be confident about getting the right parts at the right price when you need them. Be sure to visit shopakr.com today or stop by their headquarters in Las Vegas. Make sure to follow Acceleration Kart Racing on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the latest specials and new arrivals. Welcome back to the EKN Radio Network. No more discussion of going to the washroom while you're driving now, David. We'll hold on to that for later.
Hold on, wait. I got to go, Rob. Wait.
Yeah, right. You just go in your seat right now, man.
All right, I'm just going to go in my office. Yep.
Leading Edge Motorsports, the sponsor of our race report section. Let's jump into X30 Master. And here's the headline. Garrido and Ramalho open season with victories.
Yeah, as I said during the By the Numbers, this is going to be a category to watch for the championship when we head back to AMR Motorplex in February. A number of different drivers were at the front all weekend long. Saturday began with our Pro Tour defending champion Mario Barrios setting fast time in qualifying, but it was a familiar name returning back to the sport. Luis Schiavo able to score the win in the pre-final. Schiavo, a multi-time Team USA driver, and again just a very veteran driver in the motorsports world, open wheel karting, a number of different programs. Yep. So great to see him back. Main event actually ended up with Schiavo leading early on, but the story was Michel Garrido, who qualified 8th, worked his way up to 3rd in the pre-final, and then by lap 8 was into the top position. And then from there, just set the pace for the remainder of the race to go on to score his first victory at the SCUSA Winter Series by a 1.6 margin victory over Danilo Romalo in the 2nd position, with Mario Barrios getting by Schiavo for the 3rd position, with Diego Rodriguez in the 5th spot.
Yeah, Rodriguez, also the hard charger, started 12th before getting up to 5th, so 7-position improvement for Rodriguez. On Sunday, though, it was Romalho's turn to kind of work his way to the front, and this is why everything's interesting. You talk about Barrios, Garrido, Schiavo had good speed, though he hit 4th and 5th on both days. Danilo Romalho this time, David, qualifying on the pole.
He did, able to set the fast time Sunday morning in the qualifying session. But unlike what we saw on Saturday, Michel Garrido was wanting to be the driver up front and actually asserted himself as a driver to beat in the pre-final by scoring the win. Giardo was the driver to beat, or driver leading in the main event, led a majority of the laps. On coming to the white flag, though, Danilo made his move. It was that left-hand corner right after the double right. So I don't know the turn 9. Turn 9. But yeah, it's one of those opportunities to where if you make it right, it's a good move, because it not only puts you at the apex first, but it also kind of surprises the driver you're passing and then slows them up as you head to the east and out towards turns 10 and 11. So it was a great move by Danilo to over Michel, and it certainly established enough of a gap for him to be able to go pull away and cross the finish line first for his victory.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite passes. As you come through the infield, this double right hand, kind of the carousel, and as you're kind of out there hanging it out, getting that constant radius corner, you kind of cut back to the left hand turn 9, and if you can get to the inside, like you said, David, it's such a great place to pass because it has built like a built-in. What's the word I'm looking for? Built-in defense mode, because as you're to the inside, that guy's going to get hung to the outside. You're holding all the way to the outside there, and he's holding on. And you literally, if it's done right, you're going to have a half a second advantage coming out of that corner. That's really what played in for Romalho. Makes that pass in the final lap. It ends up leading and winning by 0.8 of a second. Great job for him to get it done over Garrido, Barrios, Rodriguez, and Schiavo. Rodriguez, the hard charger, wasn't a lot of movement within the order, David. He was up 3 spots. That was enough. Started 7th, finished 4th for Rodriguez.
Yeah, 2 top 5s for him, 2 top 5s for Schiavo, for Barrios. So a number of different drivers in the mix as we'll head to the championship rounds next month.
Yeah, it's going to be tight. Let's move to the pro shifter category. Here's the headline: return to the top of the podium for Musgrave as Isambard earns first.
Again, the numbers weren't there, but we certainly saw some drama throughout the weekend in this category, and a number of different drivers in the mix. Alan Isambard, one of them, was able to set fast time in qualifying. That was until Billy Musgrave asserted himself as the driver to beat on Saturday. He won the pre-final, and then while he was pressured all throughout the final, led all 20 laps to score his first victory since his last championship, which was, I believe, in 2019. So a good return to the top of the podium for Musgrave, with him earning the victory by 0.3 of a second.
Yeah, Slavik Pushetin coming into the second spot on the Charles Leclerc chassis, put the pressure on throughout the race. Alan Isambard, who had shown good speed in qualifying, just didn't quite have it in the main. And I asked him afterwards, and that's essentially what he said. He goes, "We just didn't have the pace." Not exactly sure why. Gianno Torino on the Magic Kart was 4th, and Andy Rule also on the Magic, capping off the top 5. On Sunday, though, David, Musgrave continuing his pace ends up qualifying on the pole position. Torino stepped things up in the pre-final to get that win in the short sprint and started on the pole. But once things rolled, Musgrave had some kind of an issue. He was a DNF in the pre-final, and he finally ended up getting to the lead, David, midway through the race. But Isambard, whatever speed he missed, he was able to get it back because he was good on Sunday.
Yeah, he actually had an issue in the opening corner of the start of the main event. So he was kind of caught, he was in catch-up mode throughout the main event. And so he was putting in qualifying lap after qualifying lap to get back up towards the front. And then once he did, he got by both Torino, got by Musgrave for the lead. And then we thought, okay, well, this will be a good fight for for the win, but Musgrave was unable to challenge him back as Isambard was able to hold him off and score the victory by 0.8 of a second.
Musgrave coming home second, Torino third, Justin Salazar on the EOS chassis in fourth, and Pushatin rounding out the top five. Let's go right now to the Master Shifter category, David, to cap off this section. The headline, Schilling and Barnes start off-season on top.
Yeah, Scott Skitchy Barnes from Bermuda was back to the SCUSA Winter Series, ended up finishing second last year in the championship and then second on the Pro Tour as well. Looking to start the 2022 season off with a victory. He was the driver to beat in qualifying in the pre-final and was leading the main event until an engine seized with I want to say about the halfway point.
Yeah, something like that.
That essentially handed the lead and the victory over to Ken Schilling as he was able to score the win ahead of Johnston Irwin, with Barnes ended up finishing in third based on the amount of laps he completed.
Yeah, there was some attrition for the other drivers in the category. On Sunday, Scott Barnes came out of the gate again, and he to give some credit to Scotty Barnes, he was real quick. He literally qualified within the guys in the pro category. I want to say he was third or fourth at one point. His qualifying pace was very good, right in the middle of the pro shifter drivers. He would race with them for the first couple of laps. They would slip by a bit, and then he would be able to hold the spot. This day on Sunday was flawless for Barnes. Won the qualifying run, ended up winning the pre-final, and ended up winning by 21.9 seconds as he was right there with the pro drivers, as I said. Farshad Bagari on the TB kart ended up finishing second. And again, Ken Schilling, another third place, another podium for Ken Schilling after his win on Saturday. So Barnes still looking pretty good. He'll try to win the championship. And again, like we talked about, David, hearing rumors that we could have some more Masters drivers out. So maybe as many as 10 Masters drivers for the race in February.
Yeah, that'll be good to see. And then Barnes is going to really have to focus on not making any mistakes or having any type of failures regarding his equipment in order to secure that championship.
Indeed. All right, folks, another break in the action. When we get back, we'll wrap up the race report presented by Leading Edge Motorsports, Mini Swift and Micro Swift to cap it off. Made in the USA. That's exactly what you get from Precision Karting Technologies. Based in Detroit, Michigan, PKT brings over 35 years of manufacturing experience to the sport of karting. Their passion for the sport began focusing around the Kid Kart platform and has expanded every year with hundreds of products designed to put you on the podium. Precision Karting Technologies is known around North America for their successful line of axles, available in all age groups. PKT manufactures a number of engine products for Comer, IAME, Rock, Rotax, and the popular Briggs & Stratton 206. A wide variety of chassis components for the many brands in the sport are available through PKT, including hubs, pedal risers, skid plates, and other hardware for your kart. Axle straightening, chassis adjustments, engine service, and specific CNC machining projects are available through their Motor City headquarters. To learn more about the many products and services available from Precision Karting Technologies, head to pktaxles.com. You can buy all the latest and greatest products on the market, but when you're karting to win, it boils down to one thing: you, the driver. Gain the knowledge and abilities by investing in yourself at the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy, and you'll find those extra tenths of a second you need to put yourself on the podium. The school was established by Superkarts USA Hall of Fame driver Alan Rudolph, with decades of victories and championships in multiple forms of the sport, including other disciplines of racing. The Alan Rudolph Racing Academy, located at the Speed Sports Racing Park in the metropolitan Houston area, is designed to teach driving skills at all levels. The instructors at the Academy have decades of racing experience and educating drivers of all ages. Classes at the Academy will teach the concepts and skills needed both behind the wheel and off the track. From the beginning kart racing experience and intro to karting courses, to their advanced 1-day and 2-day courses and karting clinics, the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy can improve the skills of any driver. For more information on the specific programs that the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy can provide for you, head to speedsports.com and click on the Racing Academy page. Be sure to follow the Academy on social media by searching for Alan Rudolph Racing Academy. Welcome back to the EKN Radio Network, episode 89 of our Debrief podcast, where we take a deep dive into the race reports of an event we just were trackside for. And this past weekend, the Superkarts USA Winter Series opener at AMR Homestead Miami Motorplex, presented by MG Tires. My name's Rob Howden, again joined by David Cole here in our online studio. David, let's jump into the Mini Swift category and talk about this racing, because it was a pretty good weekend for young Weldon. Weldon doubles up for first series victories.
Yeah, I made an error on that. It's actually his first series victories of 2022. So we'll just say that.
Yeah, that's true. All right.
I did some more research this morning and forgot to update that. So
that's all right.
Anyway, for Weldon, it was pretty shocking to see him in the paddock at all with a helmet on around the racetrack with a fractured wrist from the last weekend at the AMR Motorplex while during his testing, and I believe it was a club race as well going on. So driving with a bit of a fractured right arm, Weldon was able to put it on the pole in qualifying, able to drive to the win in the pre-final, and then led 17 of the 18 laps in the main event to drive away to a 2.4 second victory in the main event. His second career victory at the series, first of 2022.
There you go.
Carson Weinberg on the CRG drove to the second position, racing under the Speed Concepts Racing tent with Luis Umana in third position. Salvador Della Vecchia was in the fourth spot aboard the Parolin, with Jensen Burnett, the Canadian, in the fifth spot.
Yeah, good run for Carson Weinberg in that CRG. Good to see the black and yellow out there for the CRG driver.
Orange.
But pardon me. I'm a colorblind guy. Black and orange. Pardon me. Yeah. Hard charger.
It's not Cali Cart. That used to be yellow.
Listen to you. Good for you pulling that back out. The old Cali Cart. That's right. Hard charger was Roman McMurdy on the Energy. 12 spots up, started 39th. Ended up in 27th. On Sunday, David, out of the gate, Weldon did it again. Put it on pole. Start the day.
Yeah, again, different weather conditions for this category as well. The main event was actually on a wet racetrack on wet tires, so that kind of shook things up. Weldon was a driver out front, but he was quickly joined by Keelan Harvick, making his Mini Swift weekend debut. Keelan Harvick qualified 16th, was able to work his way up into the third spot in the pre-final, and then took the lead on lap 3. As he was leading, Kai Johnson was a driver charging forward, got up to second, and then while he was attempting a pass for the lead over Harvick, they kind of did an over-under, and the two made contact on the exit of turn 4.
Yep.
The contact sent Harvick up and over him, over Kai Johnson, while Johnson shuffled, I want to say, all the way back to about the 8th spot, while Harvick remained in the lead, but that allowed Weldon to close up. They essentially ran 1-2 for the remainder of the race, and Harvick actually crossed the line as the provisional winner. Unfortunately, the officials gave a penalty to Harvick for contact with Johnson. That dropped him down to the third position, and that moved Weldon up to the top spot of the podium.
Yeah, so Weldon ends up with the win. Kai Johnson second, Harvick with that penalty dropping to third. Faith and Sarapon takes fourth with the Kart Republic, and Max Christia in the Burrell Art capping off the top 5. Carson Weinberg, we talked about him finishing second on Saturday, had some kind of an issue in the pre-final, ended up starting 37th, but he was the hard charger, up 30 spots over those the 20 laps to get the 7th. What a great run for Weinberg on Sunday.
Yeah, I want to say it was contact in the turn 5 hairpin that took Weinberg out of the pre-final. So
I think you're right. Yep.
Put him at the back of the field for the main event, and certainly showed well in his opening weekend aboard the CRG.
One of the things we've seen a lot, and again, our first opportunity at the Winter Series each year to see how many drivers, which drivers move from micro to mini to junior to senior, and so on. We've definitely got a guy to watch for here in the Micro Swift class. I always say that the Winter Series kind of sets the tone for the season, gives us our first look at potential championship national contenders. Well, here's your headline for Micro Swift. True Show puts on dominant performance on weekend.
It certainly was that. Again, a driver at his home racetrack understands the facility, knows what he needs to do, and again, has that full season of racing towards the front of the field from 2021. So now Alessandro Truchot has put himself as the driver to beat early on in the Micro Swift division. Saturday was a clean sweep, set fast time in qualifying and won the pre-final, and then drove away to an 8.5 second margin for victory in the main event.
Yeah, great run for Truchot all weekend long. Ashton Woon ended up finishing in second, Benja Fernandez in third, Rocco Simoni in fourth, and Samuel Martinez rounding out the top five in micro. Wire-to-wire victory, as you said. We did have a pretty good scrap, though, for second spot between Woon and Fernandez and Simoni. There was some good racing there. That seemed to be like kind of the way this weekend was going to go. It was going to be Truchot out front, then the fight for second, third, and fourth, the final positions on the podium. Dave Hardcharger Kai Mars had some issues in the pre-final, but really powered his way forward in the main, up 22 positions, 36th to 14th for the Trinity Karting Group driver.
Yeah, more than one position a lap, so good performance for him. And then again, as you said, Sunday, all Truchot. Just unstoppable. Nobody was able to really challenge him even at the starts. Truchot was able to get good, clean starts, get away from the field. After setting fast time in qualifying, won the pre-final, and then the main event was a 3.4 second advantage after 20 laps.
Yeah, Rocco Simoni making his debut with Parallel USA really settled in and kind of got a feel for it. Obviously, had a chance to probably go over some of the data from Truchot as well. He turned it up as well on Sunday to go to second. So the first podium finish for Rocco Simoni in SCUSA action. Benja Fernandez ended up finishing in third. And shout out to both Ashton Woon and Jackson Porter, David. They end up in the top five, but they had to move forward up 11 and 12 spots respectively.
Yeah, good drives forward. Again, it's just kind of hustling. And those are two names that we talked about in the Outlap preview podcast. We kind of set five names. We talked about Truchot. We talked about Simone. We talked about Woon and Porter being among those that could contend. So, we got 4 out of the 5, and Benny Fernandez should be a driver that we could see potentially compete all season long and be one of those front runners as well.
I think so. And even with the 11 and 12 spot improvement for Woon and Porter, not the hard chargers, as Drew Waltz on the Burrell Art up 13th spot. Drew started in 20th and drove his way up to 7th.
Yeah, so 3 drivers essentially following each other all the way up through the field.
Yeah. So, okay, folks, one more break. We'll cap things off after this. We'll wrap up this edition of the debrief, and we'll have a look at the Constructors' Championship, on which brands were able to get wins down in Florida. And we'll cap things off, as we always do, with our EKN Trackside Live Race Calendar. Stay with us, folks. More to come.
History, success, family. Those are the 3 words that describe Comet Kart Sales, one of the longest tenured karting businesses in the United States. The family-owned operation is located just outside of Indianapolis, and they have provided karts, parts, and services for thousands of racers throughout their near 6 decades of business. Comet's online store features everything you need, continually adding new parts to their product line. Comet Kart Sales attends dozens of karting events every year, offering trackside service for racers and families. Karting veterans Mark Dismore Jr. and Gary Lawson provide one-on-one driver coaching and tuning assistance for each trackside customer. The engine building business, Comet Racing Engines, has won countless major events and championships over decades of karting, and they continue to offer the best trackside service in the industry. Make sure you head to CometKartSales.com or call them at 317-462-3413 to be a part of the Comet Kart Sales family today.
Fast, fair, and fun. Ignite Spec Karting offers you all of that at an affordable price. And the all-new IgniteKarting.com website provides you with the information you need to fuel your passion for kart racing. Ignite Karting is a spec kart that features the Margay racing chassis with a Briggs & Stratton 206 engine and a Hoosier R80 tire. Everyone in the junior, senior, and masters classes utilize the same Ignite K3 kart, which puts all the emphasis squarely on the driver. You can race the Ignite package from Margay at the local, regional, and national level. Special events for 2021 include the Ignite Majors, featuring events at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, Quincy Grand Prix, and Newcastle Motorsports Park. Those in the Midwest can enjoy the regional-based Ignite Challenge Series at tracks in Iowa, Missouri, Indiana, and Illinois. Local club programs have been established in Idaho, Texas, Nebraska, New York, Ohio, and Florida. All the information that you're looking for on events throughout the country and on all the Ignite kart packages, including dealers in your area, is available at IgniteKarting.com. Get off the couch and on the track this year. Ignite Karting. Fuel your passion. Welcome back to the EKN Radio Network. Let's put a wrap on this edition of the EKN Outlap. David, wrapping things up. As we said before, during the Outlap, we were super excited. Now, listen, to get to Florida, obviously, because of the weather. It wasn't exactly what we expected, but it was still warm and significantly warmer than back home.
We still got to wear shorts all
it.
day, every day.
Yep.
We didn't have to put on jackets except for when it rained. So aside from that, yeah, it was good weather. It was great to get away from the cold weather, and thankfully I haven't had to shovel yet, so that's good. But
whoa! There's no more shoveling for you. We took care of that.
Yeah. Well, okay, moving snow. I'll say moving snow. I haven't had to move snow yet in the last couple of days, so that's good. But I tell you what, when it feels like 1 degree and I was just in 80-degree weather, it's a big change.
It's a shock. So wacky weather for sure. We had a bunch of rain come in. So much so that we talked about flooding the racetrack. That had to get taken care of. And then they lit the residual water, some puddles. Man, it just made for a chaotic weekend of competition. And of course, rain coming on Sunday as well. Drivers out on the racetrack in wet conditions with slick tires. Just a crazy weekend weather-wise, all told. The pushback bumper, obviously a big thing, David. No major issues at the start, although I do think that Saturday was better than Sunday. I think some of the drivers maybe getting a little more aggressive, remembering that they didn't have the pushback.
Well, I think, again, we've talked about that. We're going to have that. We're going to have guys that are going to get too aggressive. But even with the pushback, guys we're trying different things to see what would work and what wouldn't. But again, it's just something that we're gonna have to monitor and see, how things unfold. Again, it's only the first opening weekend. Let's see how things unfold next month when we get back down there. And again, SCUSA, their staff is learning and adjusting with no pushback bumpers as to what they need to be watching for, what they need to be looking at.
Agreed, yeah, and they'll put the hammer down to make it happen. Last but not least, to wrap things up, a lot of new names at the top of the field, David. We always get that. This is why we love the Winter Series. Get down there and see kind of who's stepping up, who have graduated up a class, and to see which names are going to potentially fight for championships. It was a good weekend, and yeah, a lot of new names up top.
Yeah, that's the great thing about starting a new season. It's a fresh start. Some drivers moving to new chassis, some drivers moving in different teams. So we got to see a lot of that on the weekend, and especially on track, got to see, some new names up front, or, familiar names returning back to the top of the podium.
Let's have a look at the Constructors Championship, David. 7 brands getting race wins with the 18 wins overall. 9 categories, 18 wins, 7 brands splitting those wins.
Yeah, Cosmic led the way with 5 victories, 3 alone under the JC karting tent. That was with both of the Weldon brothers, Oliver earning 2 and Sebastian 1. Tony Kart ended up scoring 4 victories with Carson Morgan earning 2 of those in the KO100 division. Parolin scoring 3, obviously Alessandro Truchot with 2 victories, and then Alessandro Di Tullo earning that X30 senior victory. EOS with 2 victories thanks to Stephen Miller. And then TB Kart scoring 2 victories, one with Vila in the X30 senior division, and then Scott Skitchy Barnes in a master shifter class.
Yep.
Factory Kart and Illuminos round out the Constructors Championship with 1 win apiece.
Yeah, let's go now to the EKN Trackside Live race calendar presented today by Franklin Motorsports. Franklin Motorsports is a leader in the karting industry with over 50 years of combined karting experience, and they can provide you with everything you need to go racing. With a large online product selection, select track support events, and a wide variety of shop services, Franklin Motorsports is your complete karting source. They specialize in IAME engines, Tillet seats, and of course, their championship-winning Merlin chassis. They've been supplying racers with start-to-finish support at race events for years, from providing a helping hand on a weekday test outing or at a club event to full arrive and drive packages at the highest level of karting competition. For all things karting, visit franklinkart.com. All right, David, a couple of races for you and I here this year. We'll be back doing an EKN Trackside Live program with our full live package, January 28th to 30th. the Challenge of the Americas. We head west to Tucson, Arizona, and the Musselman Honda Circuit. Always looking forward to getting out to the crew there with the Challenge. And based on their momentum over the last couple of years, could be a record-setting series for the Challenge this year.
Yeah, it could be a record-setting event just to begin the season off, the 15th season of Challenge of the Americas. Again, Tucson, we love going to that racetrack. We get that elevated view that we get to see everything and watch the amazing racing that happens around that circuit that replicates the Suzuka circuit in Japan. Again, the only thing we have to worry about there, hopefully, is wind. And in the last few times we've been there, it's been pretty good. So, hopefully we don't have a bad string, certainly following all the rain we had this past weekend.
No doubt about it. We'll be back again for our full trackside coverage down at the Scoop Superkarts USA Winter Series finale as well, February 11th to 13th. I'll again be joining Xander Clements as part of the Kart Chaser coverage. We even this TAC weekend, David, even though we had the Kart Chaser going, we did stream the live coverage on the EKN Radio Network app and on ekartingnews.com/radio. And we had a ton of people tuning in to the radio broadcast as well. So nice to see that people were enjoying getting the audio broadcast still too.
Yeah, we figured it was a great opportunity for those who can't be on YouTube or can't actually watch the action. That again, the radio is always a secondary option. You see that with football, basketball, all the other sports. There's no reason why we can't do that for karting. So thank you to everybody who tuned in to the radio. It's not the same production that you'll typically get at our EKN Trackside Live events, that especially what you'll get with the Challenge of the Americas weekend coming up at the end of the month. But at least you can hear the soothing sounds of Rob Howden.
Hey, listen, one thing we didn't bring up either, we launched a new YouTube show this past weekend as well, right? We got a brand new show that we're going to start doing when we can, especially when David and I are together at the racetracks. We're going to start doing our tent talk even more. We did our first one with Sean Bailiff and the crew at Trinity Karting Group. That's available on YouTube right now if you didn't see it. But bottom line is Friday, we're going to sit down, do a live video interview within one of the tents of the major teams in the sport. And I really enjoyed sitting down with the Trinity guys. It was a lot of fun to get that thing underway.
Yeah, it was good. It's a new opportunity for us, again, to further connect with those in the sport, those in the industry, both industry members and drivers that are part of a team, or, so it was, the Bailiff family is always great to talk with. And, looking forward to actually getting down to the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati to see that facility. But again, one of the top race teams right now in the sport is certainly Trinity Karting Group.
So again, folks, lots more coming here. The EKN Trackside Live Tour, January 28th to 30th. We'll be at the Challenge of the Americas race in Tucson, Arizona. A couple of weeks later, back down to the SCUSA Winter Series event at AMR Homestead Miami Motorplex. Looking forward to that one. David, we're done. Wrapping things up, folks. That has been another edition of the EKN Debrief. I hope you enjoyed the full race report from David and I. Again, Parolin USA, the sponsor of the broadcast here today. Big thank you to everyone from Parolin USA. Tremendous weekend for them, of course, with 3 wins down at the Winter Series in Homestead. Again, we'll be back down for the finale in February. We'll see which drivers step up as championship contenders when we get things rolling there on the Saturday. But otherwise, we are done. Look for another outlap coming soon before the end of the season when we get ready to roll with the preview for the Challenge of the Americas. But again, on behalf of David Cole, my name's Rob Howden. Bye for now.